What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I am your guide, your coach, Renz. And tonight we're going to be doing our series, What's Wrong with the Bible? We are in Joshua 19 and 20. We're going to speed run these tonight. So if you follow me for the first time, then we deconstruct Christianity on here and look for enlightenment in the known universe of how it functions to elevate our consciousness to a higher level. If you find me for the first time, go ahead and skip to the 5-minute mark because that's when we actually get started. Give people an opportunity to get on to the live. So jump to the 5-minute mark. If you're watching this at a later date, we go live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look to have some conversations tonight. We had great conversations last night. Hopefully we can get some people to come on tonight. Have no idea what we're going to talk about after we speed run through Joshua 19 and 20 because there ain't a lot to it, to those two chapters. So right now, as we get ready, if you're coming on, I want to support everybody who supports the channel through that modem, as well as through being subscription holders and subscribers on Facebook, subscription holders on Facebook, and members on YouTube. We're getting some balloons here around San Antonio. So we've got some pollination going on. Grand Rising Rochelle, how you doing? So before we get started at the 5-minute mark, I will answer certain questions. Have you ever thought that because you was pushed out of church 4 times as a child, that really you should be teaching the Bible in its whole truth, not just deconstructing Christianity, but by maybe making a new Bible or religion? I'm glad that you asked that question, Rochelle, because at one point, that's what I thought I was doing, right? I was in that mode. So, damn, Rochelle, that's a really good question. That kind of deserves its own video, like its own 10-minute video right there. Hey, Debbie, how you doing? So, from about the age of 20, 21, until around the age of 30, when I went through the process of becoming a deacon after many years of study, reading many books, my goal was actually to be like, why did his name just fell out of my head? The wrong name is in my head right now. But my goal was to be like Martin Luther. My thought process from around 20 to 30 was to reform the church. I didn't want to leave the church. I wanted to reform the church by teaching the Bible correctly, by giving the correct understanding of the Bible, which is one of the things that led me to more and more archaeological insight. And the problem, though, is as I went through that process, yes, I would, teach them what the Bible really meant, not what the Baptists or the Methodists or anybody else was saying. But the more I researched archaeology, the more I come to realize that the Bible is just a fictitious story in itself. And so I had to set the whole thing aside. But yes, I was definitely in a mode where I was looking to teach it properly, teach it as it should have been taught. I was leaning more towards Gnosticism because what I couldn't do was harmonize the Jesus character to the Old Testament God. There is absolutely no way the Jesus character in the Old Testament God could be talking about the same God. And in realizing that, you have to be willing to accept books that are not in the canon. And so I understood and studied the canon as well, right? But then I started researching the archaeology of Jesus and the writings of the New Testament and where those came from and how they was put together and who wrote what. And because at that time frame, I was still believing that there were eyewitnesses and all these sorts of things. But the more and more I study the New Testament, the more and more I realized that it was just a government scam by the Romans for the most part. I mean, it's the uh, easiest way of explaining it. And I started understanding Josephus ben Matthias, Philo of Alexander, the spread of Christianity, how it developed, the lack of archaeology around Paul, the difference in the fact that Paul, the same writer, only wrote like the first 7 letters of Paul. The other 6 letters could not have been written by the same person. They were, if they were written by somebody who was close to Paul, then that's still not Paul writing them. But how easily it is for people to accept that and believe it. And then the decision to make the word of God be inspired. But I was just having so many problems with it. And then when I realized that Revelations was not talking about any time beyond the time frame of the mid to late first century. Like Revelation doesn't apply to us. It doesn't apply to anybody. No, I don't see the YouTube comments. Oh, hold on. If you're on YouTube, could you please write in a comment again? Because I've been told that YouTube comments aren't coming. Oh, yeah, I see. I see James Pearson. I want to see that one. You see it right there? Okay. All right. YouTube had a little issue at first, but now it's coming up. Thank you, Angelina. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, I thought about it, but see, here's the thing: it wouldn't have anything to do with the Bible for the most part. There's very few. That's one reason why the Unitarian Church was appealing, but even the Unitarian Church has more of a push towards Christianity and kind of a remake and esoteric version of it. But I have been lately giving thought to, with everything that I've learned over the decades, and our conversation on Monday really pushed the issue of going deeper into creating organization for where I do go, where I do follow, what I do understand. But thank you for the question, though. Got on the shirt today, one of the shirts. You saw the other shirt yesterday. If you're interested in getting the merchandise, want to support the channel through the merchandise, that's the link on Facebook. I'm sure Angelina is going to put that same link on YouTube. Angelina, moderator. But tonight, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Oh, man. I have not had sinus problems since we moved to Texas. Now I want to have some issues. So James, the people on Facebook won't be, people on YouTube won't be able to see the Facebook comments, and people on Facebook can't see the YouTube comments. It would be cool if I had a program that everybody can see everybody's comments. The sad part about it is that, and that's why I post comments that I respond to. I can't trust any of those books. I will be cutting up, oh, this verse is okay and that verse is okay. So instead, I just express my fullness. So if you want to see, Rochelle, if you want to see that fullness, the easiest way will be to go to YouTube. But since you're on Facebook, if you scroll up on my Facebook page and see the live that was done on Monday, go to 1 hour mark and listen from the 1 hour mark, and you will hear that expression. I think the shirts are like $19, something like that. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/. Let me just type it in here. Uh, I just type in YouTube. Oh, the link, Angelina won't let you post the link on YouTube. Okay. Well, if you go into the description of the videos that I posted today, you can see the link for where you can get the merchandise. It should be in the description of the channel, but it's also on a link on the description of the videos that I posted about an hour ago on YouTube as well. Appreciate that, James. Oh, Angelina cleared up. Shirts are 25, mugs are 30, 22. I have no idea. It was set up a while back and I have forgotten. But it goes to support the channel. It goes to support the channel. No, it doesn't buy these. We use other monies to buy the cigars. Oh, and I just received um, a, a support on by this method today. So I'm not going to say the name because I don't know if people want their names out there. But thank you. Oh, that was received on Monday. So thank you. Appreciate it. You know who you are. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And that will go to some cigars. I'll tell you that one. Nope, you just have to go to the link. I don't produce them myself. You have to go to the link. So that will be having them shipped to me and then ship it to you. That makes no sense. Mm-hmm. All right, so it's time to get started. Okay, so I know y'all are getting distracted. Y'all know it's Wednesday. Y'all know it's what's wrong with the Bible. Yeah, there's always a lesson first. So before we get too distracted, and Rochelle is bringing up some good information, good questions, good statements. So I thank her for being here because um, it's always good to have good conversation on here. But tonight, usually I read every word of the 2 chapters that we go through. But tonight I'm a speed run. I'm not reading all of it because it's boring as hell and very repetitive. And it's going to have similar connotations to last week. So we are going to speed run through this understanding of Joshua 19 and 20. You know, Christians like the Bible believers like to say that every word of the Bible is true. And actually, I want to bring something up so that I did this last week. So I want you guys to be able to see it again. But they like to say that every word of the Bible is true. And the fact of the matter is, it's not. Every word of the Bible is not true. Oh, well, let me say true. Yeah, well, like they like to say it's true, but every word of the Bible is not true. But one of the things they like to say is that every word of the Bible has some level of meaning to it, some deeper meaning to it. But the Bible doesn't have deeper meanings to any of it. Hey, James, I would love to do a live. I would love to have Myth Vision come on my live. So hook that up, James. I would love to have Myth Vision on my live. I need you to hook that up. So, all right, Look, y'all gonna get me distracted. Let's get through this little Bible part first, and then we should have the other conversation. We got to get the stogie lit first. And y'all might get a lot of time out of me tonight because this one is a 50, about a 56, 58 ring gauge. Okay. That's about a 58 ring gauge. Oh. You're going to get a lot of time out of me tonight. All right. Speed run. This is a speed run of chapter 19 and chapter 20. I will read every word of 20 because 20 is short for one, but 20 is the only one that has anything that's problematic. The problem with chapter 19, it is problematic throughout the entire thing, right? Because the main part, as you see the map on there, it is saying that these were the lands that Joshua sent the 12 tribes of Israel out to go and conquer. But we know that there is absolutely zero archaeological evidence that demonstrates that these 12 tribes ever went out and conquered this land at the time frame of Joshua. Not that they've never controlled this land, but certainly at the time frame of Joshua, which biblical apologists say is around the 1400s. But scholastically, it would be around the 1200s. So so does butane. Wood matches are fine, but you gotta let the strike part burn out first before you start lighting it. But then but butane doesn't change anything. So butane, never use a cigarette lighter. Anyway, y'all know if you ask me a cigar question, I'm going to answer that. So chapter 19 is basically continuing the breakdown of territory. And all of them read very similar. I'll read the first portion of 19, and then it's going to be repetitive in a similar fashion, just with different names in different cities. All right. So chapter 19 starts out with, the second lot came out of Simeon. For the tribe of Simeon, according to the families, its inheritance lay within the inheritance of the tribe of Judah. So basically what's going to happen here with the tribe of Simeon, they didn't necessarily, Judah had a big, huge amount of land. And this is because Joshua is part of the tribe of Judah. So it would seem this God is saying that, well, instead of giving them a separate one, we're going to cut down Judah's size. And some scholars think that the reason why Simeon got this is because the tribe of Judah gave them a portion of their land that they felt was not usable, was not the best part of land. So Simeon got this little part inside of Judah. This is why the 10 tribes are later on in actual history become the northern Israelite kingdom, and the southern tribe of Judah the southern kingdom of Judah is actually the 2 tribes of Judah and Simeon. So when you hear people talking about the lost 10 tribes, this is because they are talking about that northern kingdom of Israel that was conquered by the Assyrians the first time and then dispersed inside the Assyrian Empire. And then when the Babylonians came, then the Assyrians then conquered the southern kingdom of Judah. When the Babylonians then conquered the Assyrians, and then the Babylonians then conquered the Assyrians, maintained that, shut down Jerusalem. And then when the Persians came back, the Persians just sent them back to the kingdom of Judah, and they established, let me rephrase it. The diaspora was all throughout the Assyrian Empire, and that was the northern 10 tribes. The kingdom of Judah was allowed to be a vassal state of the Assyrians. So they didn't get dispersed. So Judah and Simeon maintained their cohesion as a vassal state of the Assyrians. When the Babylonians came in, they maintained that, allowed Judah to maintain that situation, except they went and took all the best people out of the kingdom of Judah, out of Jerusalem, and that's where you get your Daniel and all that sort of thing. They kept, so the other 10 tribes still dispersed amongst this empire. Then when they returned, when the Persians, when Darius returned them, say, okay, well, you're still going to be a vassal state of the Persians, but we're going to return your vassal statehood that the Babylonians took away. They were now in the kingdom of Judah. All the dispersed tribes, the 10 dispersed tribes, all just came into Judah, but they didn't have any recognition like they did before. So people say the lost tribes. They weren't dispersed all over the world. They didn't go into Egypt. They didn't go down into Africa. They didn't go to Asia, no other place. They were amongst the Assyrians, amongst the Babylonians, and then as they were then only given back the vassal statehood of Judah. And then you get the the Greeks, and they maintained that same situation. And then the Hasmonean dynasty was still situated just in this kingdom of Judah area. And from them, you get the Romans come in, and Judah still is the only place. So there is no lost 10 tribes. They were just assimilated into the different kingdoms and then assimilated at the end into the kingdom of Judah. And that's all it is. But that kingdom of Judah only had 2 recognized tribes, and that was the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Simeon. So in this one, it talks about the land that they were able to get. It had as inheritance Beersheba, Molada, Hazra, Shul, Bala, Ezim, and it's going to name a bunch of towns. I don't mess up the name. And so it names all this, and then it finishes with, this is the inheritance of Simeon, formed part of the territory of Judah, because the portion of the tribe of Judah was too large for them, and the tribe of Simeon obtained an inheritance within their inheritance. So what you're seeing is just Simeon being a part of that. Then it goes into the territory of Zebulun, and it tells you their cities and towns and villages, and you see that on the map. Then Issachar, then the territories of Asher, then the territories of Naphtali. Did I highlight anything on this one other than that part? Let me see. There was one part that I highlighted. Where the hell is that highlighted? Then Naphtali, then the tribe territory of Dan. Now, one of the things in the territory of Dan, if you remember, Dan couldn't take their land. They couldn't kill all the, so anytime all these inheritance, they were supposed to go out and decimate everybody. You remember, I did a video today talking about the command that this God gave in Deuteronomy 20, and that command was to kill everything that breathes in these cities. Dan was not able to accomplish that. So the Danites didn't accomplish that, and they lost, and then they had to go back and fight again against Leshem. And these are Semitic people, Canaanite people. They go back and fight Leshem. They win, but they make the people their slaves, who are, according to the story, those people become their slaves within that community, and they have to live with them. So the Danites were the only ones who failed to genocide everybody. And then you get to Joshua's inheritance. And this is the end of the chapter. It says, when they had finished distributing the several territories of the land as an inheritance, the Israelite gave an inheritance among them to Joshua of Nun. By command of the Lord, he gave him towns that he asked for. Timnath Sarah, in the hill country of Ephraim, he rebuilt the town and settled it there. There is an inheritance that the priest Eleazar and Joshua son of Nun and the heads of the families of the tribes of the Israelites disputed by lot to Shiloh before the Lord and the entrance of the tent of meeting, so they finished dividing the land. Now we know none of this actually happened. There is zero archaeological evidence that demonstrates that they inherited any of this land. What the hell? I don't know how to stop this. Let me turn the volume down. My brother finally figured out how to use the damn video phone calling. He finally figured it out. Stupid. Sorry about that. My brother, I sent him the link to do video calls about a month ago. He just now figuring it out. All right. So that brings us to chapter 20. Now, chapter 20. So any questions about that first? Any questions about 19? There's not really much to it. It's just the fact that they claim to conquer land that they never conquered. And the Danites failed to conquer, to genocide people. That's probably a good thing. So chapter 20 is really just about city of refuge that was set up according to the command that was given to Moses. It's not really, it's only like 10 verses, 9 verses. So it won't take long. Then the Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, say to the Israelites, appoint the cities of refuge, of which I spoke to you through Moses, so that anyone who kills a person without intent or by mistake may flee there. They shall be for you a refuge from the avenger of blood. The slayer shall flee to one of these cities and shall stand at the entrance of the gate of the city and explain this case to the elders of the city. Then the fugitive shall be taken into the city and given a place and shall remain with them. And if the avenger of blood is in pursuit, they shall not give up the slayer because the neighbor was killed by mistake, there having been no enmity between them before. The slayer shall remain in the city until there is a trial before the congregation, until the death of the one who is high priest. Until the death of the one who is high priest at the time, then the slayer may return home to the town of which the deed was done. So they set apart Kadesh in Galilee, in the hill country of Naphtali, and Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and Kithra Abra, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah. And beyond the Jordan east of Jericho, they appointed Bezer in the wilderness of the tableland from the tribe of Reuben, and Ramoth in Gilead from the tribe of Gad, and Golan in Bashan from the tribe of Manasseh. These were the cities designated for all the Israelites and for the aliens residing among them. That anyone who killed a person without intent could flee there, so as not to die by the hand of the avenger of blood until there was a trial before the congregation. So if you remember when we was going through Deuteronomy, these things were expressed that they were supposed to set these cities up. Now, we have archaeology that people have lived in these cities, but not that they were ever these refuge cities. These were just a rule that they were given to be governed by. Now, hopefully, this would have been a good thing, if you accidentally kill somebody. But this is where we get some of the ideas of calling sanctuary and refuge in a church when someone's murdered someone. This is where that comes from. If you remember, like in Middle Ages into more modern times, people would be able to do that. But that's all there is to that. There's not much else. It's just stating some facts. So it is stating how their society was functioning during this time frame of Joshua. The only problem is Joshua didn't exist. Joshua didn't exist. This conquest didn't exist. Didn't happen. As we went over before, the city of Ai was an abandoned city until the Iron Age started, and they didn't have any problems. There was no conquering of Ai during that time frame because no one was there. And these stories of Joshua, by most scholars who are not apologists, merely sees them as a creation story for a history of people that they would like to have. But it wasn't a real story. There may have been some conquering guy that they knew about, a legend of Joshua, but didn't exist. And none of these conquests exist. There's, when I say there's zero evidence, there's literally more evidence that goes against the Joshua story than there is evidence that, and there's no evidence for the Joshua story. Zero, zilch, none. The only place you can find the Joshua story is in the Bible. You can't find it anywhere else. There's no pottery, there's no city, there's nothing. There's absolutely zero about Joshua. And places like Jericho and Ai have been dug to death. And there's just simply nothing there. So does anybody have any questions? Like I said, I'm gonna speed run through. I was gonna speed run through those two because there's just not a lot to talk about in those chapters. So I'm gonna look and see what y'all been talking about. Do you think you can do a video on Sodom and Gomorrah? Sure. I know I've done some videos way back, but we can do some more of those. I'm open to anything now. I knew that this was going to be like a speed run. It was not a lot of meat there on the table. A Christian was justified marrying a woman you raped, and I just stopped talking. And you should. The way that Christians try to justify these things is amazing because they have to have this God. He has to exist for them. So they got to say everything is correct. I don't usually pay attention to this person, to James, because most of the time I can't understand what he's talking about. But how do you know? You don't, and you don't read the Bible. So what makes you think that Woodendale and people are cute, don't read? Okay, so the first part of your statement, I understand what you're saying. Now, so let me break it down for you, James. Archaeological evidence demonstrates that for Joshua, first, you have to place Joshua in either 1200 BCE or 1400 BCE. It doesn't really matter which time frame. Now, the most appropriate time frame for Joshua would be 1200 BCE. In 1200 BCE, or even in 1400 BCE, the walls of Jericho were already down and the city was abandoned. The city of Ai was abandoned during that time frame. Those cities could not have been conquered by Joshua since they were already abandoned. Nobody lived there. The walls were down. The walls were not rebuilt in Jericho until around 1000 BCE. Joshua has long passed since that time frame. And when those city walls were built, Joshua had nothing to do with it. Okay, so just right off the bat, the first parts of Joshua already demonstrates that that is impossible for the walls to fall down because they yelled and screamed and blew some trumpets, and the Ark of the Covenant made them fall. Also, if Joshua was in this land in the 1200s or the 1400s, that land was still controlled by Egypt until around 1100 BCE. So the Egyptians controlled this land at the time frame that Joshua and Moses supposedly went into this land. All the archaeological data shows this, all of it. No archaeological data shows Israelites conquering this land. Now, the closest thing you get is the fact that in the Merneptah Stele, Pharaoh Merneptah talks about destroying or winning a battle over a people group called Israelites in 1204. Even if so, you would have to give that these Israelites who were hillside people and they weren't a nation. He was specific about everybody else that he conquered in the Merneptah Stele, whether they was a city state or they were a nation, and the Israelites were the only ones that said was a people group. So they lost. Joshua would have lost against the Egyptians if he was a real person at that time frame, which would then nix all this conquering and division of land that he supposedly gave to the tribes of Israel. So there you go. That should be enough information for you to understand the Joshua story is not true and the archaeology is completely different. Shows it tells a different story. And as far as reading the Bible, I have read the Bible more than 50 times, my guy, over my lifetime. Okay, do you listen? Did you listen at all? You don't know what year it was. Archaeologically, based on the Bible of who begat who and all the begatting, the Joshua story happens in the late 1200s. That's based on biblical archaeology of from Jesus to who begat who and what age they were, and you get 1200s for Joshua, or late 1200s, which would be like 1204, 1210, 1220, 1190. That's how you get Joshua in the 1200s. But because of what is said about Solomon when he began to rule, you can apologists will put Joshua in the 1400s. So that is why Christian apologists put Joshua in the 1400s. But what I just explained to you is that it wouldn't matter if it was the 1200s or the 1400s. There's zero archaeology, and that land was controlled by Egypt. So listen to what's being said. Because the Bible is not a history book. "50 times how it took me over 6 months to get out of the book of Exodus. The second time because I just kept finding flaws. So admittedly, the first probably 10 times I read the Bible, I started from age 12. And the first 10 times I read it, went to about age 18. That was me reading it, trying to understand it just from reading it. I was going to the library and researching certain things, but it tells you how old I am. I was going to the library. We didn't have the internet. It was from about 16, 17, 18 is when I started adding reference materials and started understanding things a little bit differently. From 19 until about 27 is when I read it the most. And this is reading it with archaeological papers and PhD papers and that sort of thing. And the thing is that I read the Bible every day. Every day I'm reading. I used to spend about 3 to 4 hours of study time almost every day of my life back then. And that's how important it was to me. Because at that time frame, I was trying to reform the churches that I belonged to, and I was trying to understand Christianity. I wanted it to be right. I wanted to believe it. At one point, I could almost quote most of it. Can't do that now. I haven't fully read the Bible since I was like 30 years old. Yes. And I was in the library with the microfiche. Uh, it's not a history book, but why did the authors use historical features and people in order to give it validation and credibility? Right? That's one of the reasons. One of the reasons why you use actual places and historical events that were happening is to give it that credibility. Because if you just wrote it as a fantasy novel, as if you went into Wonderland or something like that, then people are going to know that you're falsifying. If you're making up kingdoms and making up cities that no one's ever heard of, it's going to be fairy tale. So the main reason is to try to give it a level of credibility. It's kind of like if you think about Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. The credibility is that it was happening in the city of Troy, and the city of Troy is a real place that existed. So what I got out of the Bible. There were some certain lessons that were good that I got out of the Bible, like some business lessons, a few good moral lessons. But for the most part, I realized just um, how many contradictions it had within itself, and that it's a non-historical book. And so then it couldn't be speaking of a true God. But what? Okay, I can't understand that. You don't went to the I don't understand what the hell you're saying. So, do you believe the parting of the Red Sea or anything like those stories are true? Absolutely not. The Red Sea never parted. The Israelites were never slaves in Egypt, in the sense of the Bible speaks of. There was never an Exodus, so none of the plagues happened. The Red Sea didn't part. It's not based on someone. It's not based on some actual event by somebody else. These were just ways of making the story into a big fish story, which was repeated then with Joshua crossing the Jericho River and the splitting of the Jericho River. Yet we have no instances of flooding, no evidence of flooding along the Jordan and dryness on the other side of it. Same thing with the Red Sea. The Egyptian economy would have collapsed if they had went through that, and the Egyptian doesn't record anything of that nature. It just didn't happen. Yeah, I read the books of Enoch about 30 years ago. It was one of the books that I was thinking that should have been part of the Bible. Since the book of Jude quoted Enoch, and then many of the theologies and doctrines that Christians hold are based on the book of Enoch, I thought that the book of Enoch should have been part of it in those days. And so I read it and studied it and broke it down. Uh, but it's just as fantastical as the rest of it. They didn't sell themselves. Literally, the Canaanites were under the vast when the Israelites became a people group. This is during the time frame when Israel was controlled by Egypt. So the Canaanite people, all these different Canaanite people, were under Egyptian control. When the Israelites separated themselves from whichever Canaanite group they came out of, they merely just was in the hill country of the Levant. They never went to mainstream Egypt. They were always just in the Levant area. And when they did try to rise up, Pharaoh Meneptah whooped their tail. They were never able to rise up until after the Bronze Age collapse. And that didn't happen until around the mid to late 1100s. I don't know who Gandrel is. Gadrell? I've never heard that name before. Yeah, I'm done with James. James serves no purpose because he doesn't listen. I've never heard that name before. Gandriel. Who is that? Did I spell it right? Let me see. Gad. Who is Gadriel? Huh. So this is from the Supernatural TV show. He was a powerful angel, one of God's most trusted, who was imprisoned for letting the serpent into the Garden of Eden and later manipulated by Metatron, seeking redemption and ultimately helping the Winchesters. Hmm. Literally my first time hearing about that. Unless, I mean, I can't say it's my first time hearing about something because I things that I read 30 years ago, I probably don't remember half of it. I've literally forgotten probably a good 50 to 60% of the things that I've read over my life. Now, I'm going to say if you believe that Moses was raised by Egyptians or that Egyptians were ever in Israel, I mean, in Egypt, there's zero proof of that. Zero. And the archaeology doesn't demonstrate any of that. It demonstrates that they never left the Levant in those time frames. And they never even existed until at the earliest around 1300 BCE. I grew up in those kind of churches, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So the supernatural show is mixing ancient legends myth into. I've never watched it. Okay, yeah, good. You shouldn't. See, I can't wait to meet Sean. Just yeah, I'm just gonna line them up. Sean, Tim, Eric. You know, just gonna line Heel. Just gonna line y'all up. Yeah. Now I did like that show until they kicked the old boy off the show. Then I started watching it. Okay, so James, what you fail to understand that just because something is written in the well for you, because something is written in the Bible, you're going to believe that that person actually existed. But actual history demonstrates that that person most likely did not exist, right? Certainly not the way the Bible describes them, even if they did exist, but they didn't. You have no one, yes, you have no one from that era, from the Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, all the way up until you get to Hezekiah, well, Azah and Hezekiah, there's no proof of any of those people ever existing. So none of these people, Joshua, Caleb, Jacob, none of the 12 tribes, children, Rachel, none of them ever existed. Yeah, Anansi. And when they took Anansi off, I was done. Randall, I am quite sure that him And I'm not even going to pay attention to D'Angelo since he cannot start a sentence without trying to be insulting. You know they believe donkeys can talk because God can do anything. It amazes me how Christians will say, "Oh, so we love, it's so much love," and then they come on and the first thing they can do is throw insults. And you talking about my ugly hat? You know you like this hat. You know you like the hat, D'Angelo. I know you like the hat. I know you do. But see, I'm not gonna go back because I could say some things about D'Angelo that would be considered rude, but I'm not gonna do that. I don't know, Randall. Bill Quist had them men feeling some kind of way. I don't know. Maybe just a little bit, just a little bit. Now, do I believe? So the only I don't believe. See, belief is hard for me because I don't believe things. I have to have some facts to back it up. Um, Once we get to King Hezekiah around around the 1700s, I mean the 800s BCE on down, as did Hezekiah exist? Sure. Did an angel go and kill 180,000 of the Assyrian military? No. The archaeology based on what we found at Nineveh goes against that aspect of it. So some of the cities and some of the places, sure, those I can accept. But believing the miracles and all that, absolutely not. So one horrible thing about me, I'm gonna say horrible, but I will go and research a person if I can. I research a person as much as I possibly can, especially those who got something to say negative about me. The things I could say about D'Angelo, mm, mm. They would just be mean. So there's no reason for me to add that energy to myself. So I just let it go, let him have his little temper tantrums and live his little life as it is. Because at the end of the day, his life means nothing to me as far as impact on my life. But yeah, I just don't believe I don't do what believes. This is one of those things where I differ with Ray Hagen. I don't think Jesus has as much to do with Serapis as people like to portray it. Um, it's more to do with the stories of this incoming Messiah, the Messiah types that were running around in first century Judea. These Messiah types were not attached to Serapis either. And Serapis is a combination of, um, of Ra and Apophis. So, and the, yeah, Ra and Apophis. So it's more of a Greek merging with the Cometics. Not it's a Hellenization of it's a Hellenized deity. I don't think that Josephus or Philo took much from Serapis, other than some of the miracles that were supposedly performed by Serapis were added to the Jesus story. But those are common miracles. Healing a blind person, healing a lame person were common miracles for any deity or demigod in that era of thinking. No, I missed that. Uh, I missed that. I wasn't talking about you saying something disrespectful, James. I was talking about D'Angelo. Let's see if I can find what you said about chapter. Do I believe in angels and devils? Nope, just the ones inside of you and me and everybody else. I didn't see that comment. I don't see the chapter 68 comment. Oh, chapter 68 of the book of Enoch. Gandrel is the serpent. Oh, I can't pull it. I have to read it again. But at the end of the day, the book of Enoch wasn't written until around 200 BCE. And it's interesting. The Christian apologists will easily say that since certain books like the Gospel of Thomas or the Secret Writings of James or the Secret Writings of Peter or Gospel of Peter, they were written too late to be authoritative. The Enoch was written super late in comparison to the time frame that Enoch supposedly was happening. I mean, you talk about something that was written in 200 BCE. I don't get it. It doesn't hold any weight. Are bad people going to pay in the afterlife? Heaven or hell? Is it real? No, heaven and hell is not real in the sense that the Bible, the Quran, or any of these other religions state that a heaven and hell is real. Effectively, when you leave this environment, you will either manifest into a higher dimensional plane, or you will just cease to exist. It's as simple as that. And in that dimensional plane, there will be a life that exists that we cannot describe. And it's not in a good, not saying it's going to be great, but it's going to have its good and bad in the same way you have your good and bad in this one, just at a different, higher level of consciousness. You know, you might deal with, oh, you are frequency, you this frequency and you that frequency, so I don't like you. And it won't be about race, it'll be about something else. But you'll find out that none of these gods actually exist. And that's going to be troublesome, even for people who, because think about it, you leave this existence, your cohesion of your consciousness remains, and you begin to exist in a whole new plane. And in that plane, you realize how much stupidity was going on on this matter plane. I did not mean to click that. That's for damn sure. No, you don't come. I don't think you come back in the sense of who you are. So as I explained Monday, when you leave this consciousness, if you haven't elevated into a higher mind, your conscious will disperse. You will not ever be you ever again. The parts of your consciousness that does recollect itself will have elements from so many other varying consciousness that have been dispersed. You will never be you. You won't have memory of you. You will never ever be you ever again. This is the only time you're you right now. So just pieces of you in a conscious state, but that state is barraged by so many other attracted elements that you'll never be you. Are white people the invention of Yaku? No, absolutely not. When did I first heard that one? I was 19. I was in the Marine Corps. I had just joined the Marine Corps the first time I heard that bullshit story. And that was some bullshit that was created by the Nation of Islam and the Nuwampians. And the I think the New Wampanoags went with the Yakub story as well, or it was one or the other. But no, there is no Yakub. That was just a made-up story by black people who needed to lift themselves up to be higher than white people and explain why so many atrocities have happened in our recent future, our recent time frame. Because the way they described the whole Yakub story, black people were these peaceful, loving people, but black people was having wars and shit like that and slavery at the same time as white people. I thought it was the nation who came up with that. But if you think about the 1960s and 1950s, that's an appealing story to black people in America because it could explain the issues that you deal with that our recent ancestors have dealt with. So it would be a very appealing story. But yes, he was a big-headed scientist. But it was appealing. If you was feeling oppressed by white people, I looked at it for a minute and was like, ooh, that made good sense right there. He took them people up into the caves of Europe and taught them nothing but evil. And then when they try to reintegrate with black people in Africa, the black people realized that they weren't having any problems until those people came back and they sent them back to the mountains of Europe. It's like, come on, man. You know, shit. There has never been a time in human recorded history where where there was kumbaya and all over the place. It's just that higher nature has escaped most people. Jeremy, that's partly true. Your first part, agreed. The beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, hey, we want to buy these guns from the Portuguese and the Spanish because we need to beat our enemies up. They bought them, they sold them into slavery. Very true. As far as that last part, that the people who brought them here were Jews, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The first farriers of the transatlantic slave trade, they were Christians. They were not Jews. They did it at the behest of Pope Nicholas IV and his papal bull. They were not Jews. That is another popular myth that people have made up in order to justify the hatred of another group of people. Were there some Jewish investors? Sure. But the main investors of the transatlantic slave trade in the beginning were the kings and queens of Portugal and Spain. That'd be Ferdinand and Isabella. They were Christians. But the main ones were Christians. The Jews weren't running shit in Europe at that time frame. And why would the Jews listen to the Pope? Mm-hmm. Catholic Church. Just research Pope Nicholas IV and his papal bull. You can actually go back a little bit further back, and Clement kind of got it started a little bit. Pope Clement I I think he's the eighth or some shit like that. He kind of got it started, but then boom, here comes Nicholas. And he only did it because he needed them to help fight the Ottomans. No, I've never had that thought ever. The reason why the Jews were identified by the in Germany is because they were at that time they were the scapegoats of the Nazis in order to give blame for their loss of World War One, the situation that they were in at the time frame. You had some prominent Jewish families during that time frame, so they were easy targets. They were simply just easy targets. And you got to remember, they weren't the only ones suffering through the Holocaust. There were black people, there were handicapped people, there was gay people. They all suffered during that time frame, just not in the numbers. I don't know if Christopher Columbus was Jewish. I've never heard that before. But he didn't, yeah, he made a deal, but if it wasn't for Ferdinand and Isabella, he would have never been able to do anything. You said Pope Clement the Seventh. I knew it was one. It's one of them Clements. How do you feel about interracial marriages? It's the wrong channel. That's the relationship channel. That's Lorenzo Reed 369. That's on that channel. But frankly, I don't really care. I don't. There's no such thing as race. Race is a man-made creation, so I don't care. Now, I think it's harder for someone in most countries to exist in an interracial relationship. You're going to struggle, and you have to just be prepared for that struggle. But I could really care less. Right. All white people aren't racist. All black people aren't lazy. Right. And there's no reason we should be putting people in categories like that. This is those type of divides keep us more separated than anything else. And I don't think Columbus was Jewish. That just bothered me. I don't, because I could have swore he was Catholic. What religion was Christopher Columbus? There's a theory that suggests that he may have been of Jewish descent and practiced Judaism in secret. Publicly, he was Catholic. He was known as a devout Catholic. And they're saying this because they believe that the theory is that because his family was from Valencia and there was a large Jewish community there, and they were being persecuted because, for a long time, the Catholic Church said that the killers of Jesus were the Jews. But most scholars of Columbus believe that it's just a myth. Yeah, there's no critical data that shows that he was Jewish. Where do I think everything came from? Nature. It's just the way the universe works. I don't think that there's no proof of any intelligent designer. So I did a whole video based on Leopold's letter a while back, just for if you want a lot more information on it. But I think it was a sign of the times. That's how they did things. They utilized Christianity was weaponized just like every other religion has ever been weaponized. And so it was weaponized against the people of the Congo and Africa in general, well, sub-Saharan Africa, in order to get wealthy. But nature doesn't we to where we can okay, everything in nature has a level of consciousness. Yes. It's so the axiom is the all is the divine paradox. All is in the all, but all are not, but the all is in all, but all are not the all. So everything in nature is connected, bound together at some level of consciousness, whether it's the atomic, elemental, plant, animal, human, higher dimensional planes of consciousness, all connected. We have trouble seeing and being a part of those connections and recognizing the different levels of it. Everything in existence could be a demonstration of mind, but it's not the mind of Yahweh, El, Brahma, Oshun, Odin, or none of those. Because the moment you put it in a box and give it a name, it's no longer the all. And everything exists on a pole. So there's levels to all of it, from one end of the spectrum to the other. And there is no end of the spectrums. It's a forever, continuous, eternal existence on all spectrum levels. No matter what, we could be talking about temperature. There is no point where coldness stops. There's no point where hotness stops. And there's no point where one switches to become the other. It is all just heat. So it is all just existence. It is all just consciousness. There's no end, there's no beginning. And this is one of those things of elevating your consciousness, because there's only so far we're going to be able to elevate our consciousness in this existence. There's only so much math we'll be able to have. There's so much science we'll be able to know. There's only so much inner knowledge that we'll be able to obtain till we get to a point where the question, we don't even know what's the next question to ask in order to get the answer. Like, we want to know, was there ever a beginning? We don't know what question to ask. We don't know what math we need. We don't know what visuals we need in order to ever know that question at this point of our understanding. So we don't even know where to go, how to get to certain answers. And then when we get to that answer, there'll be even deeper and further questions that we won't know. We'll be able to answer a lot, but we won't be able to, we'll be stuck at another point again. This is why growth is infinite. Consciousness is infinite. I don't know, except when I sleep. I was bundled up like this last night, and I must have sweated so much, and the air conditioner's blowing cold, but my body heat gets real hot. And I sweat like a pig last night. Had a whole pool of sweat. But no, our bodies is 98 degrees. It's just what it is. It's not hot, not cold. It just is. Is anybody else struggling? I always like this question. Light, or a statement or question. Light overpowers darkness. But to what extent? At some point, the darkness overcomes the light. It's all balanced out. Light only exposes itself to the level of pretty much heat that is being generated, the level of its vibration. At some point, the darkness is there. No sweat glands. I had a friend. He don't sweat. We can go play 4 games of full court basketball for an hour, and that joker never sweated. Of course, that's an imbalance in his system. There's something wrong with his ass. Some of these statements, I'm sorry, I just had to put this one up. Your body is hot. You're not a doctor. You haven't been to school to be a doctor. So I have to go to school to be a doctor to know anything about how the body works. That's dumb. I'm sorry. That was just stupid. You can't know nothing unless you went to school for it. And Dorian, there's so much to the universe that we don't know. And we don't even know where to begin to ask some of the questions to find out certain things until something is revealed to us, and then we can work on the problem or to solve it. Then, but once we solve that, it invariably brings about another question. Hmm. Yeah, my kid's godfather, he doesn't sweat, but I told him he need to get checked out because he probably got something going on with his sweat glands. Sweating is a natural thing. No, James, your statement was dumb because then you would have to say that anybody who's taking a class in biology doesn't know anything because they didn't go to school to be a doctor. Or anybody who's read a book about the human body, they don't go to school to be a doctor. Or anybody who's just watched how the body functions. Well, you don't know nothing about the body. You didn't go to school. All you did is watch people walk. Well, I can tell you by watching people walk, you can tell if a person has problem with that. If I watch enough people walk and I see that these people walk this way because they got a hip problem. These people walk this way because they got knee problems. Oh, your observation can't do that. Uh, oh, sometimes he serve a purpose. Yeah. Jeremy, you never went to school to be a mathematician. So how dare you say that 15 times 7 equals 105? How dare you? You don't know that. Did you go to school to be a mathematician, Jeremy? And this is true. If you can't sweat, you can overheat. So you got to be very mindful of it. I tried that when I was going through the process of I wanted to reorganize, reform the church. I kept saying the wrong thing. I want to say reorder, reform the church. But even trying to read it esoterically, there's only so much you're going to get out of it. But then you have to throw away so much of it. You have to throw away like there's no esoteric understanding of Deuteronomy 20 when it tells them to kill all the men, kill all the women. Kill all the men in cities that are far away from you. You can keep the women and the children and the animals for your spoils. But then when the city's close to you, kill all the men, kill all the women, kill all the babies, kill anything that breathes. There's no esoteric to that. There's no esotericism or whatever you want to call it to if a young woman is raped and she's not betrothed to a man, then the rapist pays 25 pieces of silver and now she has to marry her rapist. There's nothing esoteric about that. So there's so much you wind up having to throw away that it becomes a wasted venture. You so there. So unless you're going to pick and choose, it doesn't work. And I would imagine if somebody was actually trying to write a Bible today, 90% of the things in the Bible wouldn't be in the Bible. James, you do realize that when you go to a school, for the most part, you're not learning how to critically think. You're learning how to regurgitate the information by which they've already taught you. Now, if you go to, now there are certain things that you do need to learn. If you're going to be a doctor, you need to learn certain things about the anatomy in the body, how things function, how they work, and that sort of thing. But that doesn't negate a person knowing who hasn't been to school certain things about the body and how it works. As a former personal trainer, I can tell you a lot about how the body works. As a matter of fact, some of the doctors that I did train, I knew more about certain aspects of the body than they did, because them motherfuckers don't learn nothing about preventive medicine. What'd you come up with, Randall? What'd you come up with the Tower of Babel? Because I found the Tower of Babel to just be one of them grandpa stories. You know, like when you want to know why something is something, and your grandfather tell you some old bullshit. This band does not want to come off. Oh my gosh. James is on one night, y'all. Before you say anything, call my uncle and my wife and his wife. They're one of the top doctors in the United States. And they have you as a nephew. So I guarantee that you're top. Here's the thing, James. Top doctor in what? What field? Because a neurosurgeon doesn't know shit about the ankles, doesn't know shit about the knees, doesn't know a damn thing really about your butt, doesn't know much about your gastric system. A neurosurgeon is going to be very limited in their knowledge when it comes to other aspects of medicine. You see what I'm saying? And most, if not any of them, know anything about nutrition and exercise. They'll say, "Oh, you need to exercise more," but they couldn't give you a program, an exercise program based on your body, based on what they see of your body. If me and a doctor had a person walk in and that person was saying that, okay, I got high blood pressure and I got joint pains here and there, but we both had to give them a nutritional and exercise program, what that doctor would tell them to do would fail. All right. Based on what they are telling me and me watching how they walk and how they move, I know what exercises to give them, what exercises for them not to do. There are certain exercises depending upon your body you're going to have, it's going to cause more damage. Doctors don't learn that. That's why doctors hire personal trainers. No, I don't smoke marijuana. You know, here's the thing, Rochelle. I would never use the Bible. If I was going to write a tenet, a guide for, which is something that I am considering writing after I finish this book about relationships, it would have more information that I would pull more information from Buddhism, Taoism, and the Hermetics and alchemy than I would from the Bible. Like there would be very little to nothing that I would pull from the Bible. Right. Why does a doctor have a doctor? Yeah. They don't know nothing about nutrition. Mm-mm. Shit. At one point, my personal training client base, a third of them were all in the medical industry, whether they were nurses or chiropractors and doctors. One of the worst and hardest headed damn doctors that I worked with was a plastic surgeon. Um, yes, according to the Bible, this God halted them from being able to build the temple by switching up the languages so that they couldn't communicate with one another, and then the people just walked away. Now we know that in you can go to a construction site right now, and everybody don't speak the same language, but they seem to build that damn building, don't they? And you wouldn't require nor need everybody to speak the same language to uh, build something. But it's a grandpa story. Daddy, why are there so many languages in the world? You see that young Randall. What had happened was, Randall, that uh, so God had allowed for man to all speak the same language, but then man in his pride tried to build a construct uh, to to elevate themselves into the heavens. And God saw this and said that if they're able to do this together, then there's nothing that they can't do. And of course, if man is able to supplant themselves instead of God, then that would just not be good. They would lose sight of God. So what happened, Randall, is that God came down and he made up all the languages. And once everybody was speaking a different language and they couldn't understand one another. And so all the people went off and, doing their own thing, speaking their own language. Now, your great, 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 great grandpappy Shem was from our line, and that God chose him, his line through Abraham to be his people, and all the rest of them went out and started worshiping their own idol gods and making up their own religions and stuff. And God hated this about them, and that is why we have conquered, and God is on our side even when we're in times of struggle. So all right, little Randall, you go. How's that work? Okay, okay, Grandpa. Thank you, Grandpa. Oh, I'm telling you. And basically, yes, if people are separated from one another, you can, if you took, I mean, hell, just look at America. Look at America. Uh, a New Yorker talks very different from a Californian, talks very different from somebody in the South. And we all supposed to speak English. Going to space is just discovery. Man can't help but try to go discover shit. We are naturally curious, but religions shut those curiosities down. But they shut all that stuff. There will always be those of us who are challenging the limitations of what life is right now to see how far we can expand. Yeah, and them New Yorkers, I just don't. Half of them I can't understand, especially depending on what you're talking about. Which ones I can't. I can hardly understand what some of them saying. Did you change how your parents think on Christianity? there was a time frame that my father, when I finally started getting to know him, I was already like 27, um, and he really was like, there might be he was grew up in Christianity, but he was kind of like, don't really care. Um, but my mom, she asked me questions here and there, but for her, she cares, but she don't care. She's never tried to push it on me, and she, doesn't get mad. But I don't try to convert people. I just tell people, don't ask me questions you don't want the answer to. No. It's easier to explore outer space than it is the oceans. You know. One thing you'll never find me trying to do is to convert somebody over. Now you ask me a question, I give you an answer. Now, even though I hate when people write in all caps, can't stand it. Oh yeah, if you got a spine injury, you got to drink a ton of water, keep your salt intake low, make sure you're getting enough vitamin D. Um, you got to shop at the markets. The grocery stores, stay out of the aisles for the most part. That's where all the processed shit is, and the end caps got all the sugary processed stuff. Um, you really want to get more into some superfoods to help your body rebuild itself. So your raw chocolates, I hate to say seaweed, but seaweed, soursop, all these different those types of different things. And then your exercise program has to be a slow build of your core first. A slow build of your core. If you go too fast, you're going to injure yourself. But a slow build of your core first to stabilize your spine before you start going into some of the some of your more not calisthenics. That's not the word I'm looking for. Plyometric exercises. So Pilates would be a good thing for you, but definitely want to stabilize your core. Yeah, definitely the processed food to kill you. And stay away from the ramen unless you're doing like my wife and go to the little Asian stores where you can get the real ramen. Stay away from your big box grocery stores ramen. Mm. Yeah, ah, you don't need a degree to know that. Y'all need to stay away from them packs of ramen noodles. Shit got so much sodium in them, and there's plastics and all kind of crap in them. You got to go. I don't know what y'all stores are called, but in Atlanta, my wife used to go to the store called Pat Dam Nim or some shit like that. Pat Dam Nim. I don't know, but you got to get the real ramen. Then go to the DeKalb Farmers Market, get the good shit. See, you're killing yourself, look. And I know I'm smoking a cigar, but you're killing you. That's worse. That is worse than a cigar. And a cigar only is dealing with right up in here because you don't inhale it. No, no, James. You cannot just eat what you wanted. So, especially with somebody with an injury, a spinal injury, or any kind of injury that's especially dealing with the bones, you don't eat what you want to eat. No one should just be eating what they want to eat at any time. Never, ever. Because if that's the case, most people will eat processed stuff, they eat fast food stuff because they engineer this food to make it taste better and to uh, get you addicted to it. So, no, and yes, I understand you're thinking that calories in minus calories out equals your weight, but calories in minus calories out don't equal your health. Your health is based on the quality of the calories that you're putting in your body. So if you're not putting quality calories in, your body is not going to be able to use those quality calories to be able to make your body healthier. So I've had clients who were 98 pounds but 38% fat. So she was skin and fat, no muscle, and she ate like crap. So she didn't eat a lot, but the quality of what she was eating was trash. And from my experience of being born and bred in Atlanta, most of the food in Atlanta is designed to make you fat and unhealthy. Oh, that what was that comment? It moved too fast. But there was a comment that where my man said that the Chinese food delivery is full of sodium like a champ. If, I don't like going to Chinese restaurants where I don't see Chinese people there or Asian. Let me not just Chinese because we'll go to a Thai. It could be a Thai restaurant. It could be in, but Asian. If I don't see the people of that culture eating at a place, I don't want to eat there. See, this is what I get for being nice, y'all. I tried to be nice to James. You know, he talked about how eating the food. I try to give him the information. I try to be nice to him, but then he want to come out with some dumb shit again. I'm done with James. My uncle, your uncle don't mean that that's you. My uncle, my uncle is a savant. Don't mean you won. Oh, I want to see this. As a cancer survivor, the chemo zapped your appetite, and the food in the hospital had no flavor. I ate barbecue and hamburgers that helped me, and that was 13 years ago. Um, Cancer is a serious business. I've never heard somebody say they ate barbecue and hamburgers. Oh, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you, Brandon. God damn. I had to beat cancer. How? I ate barbecue and hamburgers. Could you imagine you on wide with that? The medical industry would have you assassinated for saying that. But I don't know. I To each his own, and I'm not promoting. I'm not telling anybody what to do. If I had a serious type of cancer, I would never do chemo. Never. It has a 98% failure rate. I would never. And then watching my friend die of cancer, when I told her in the very beginning what to do, but she wouldn't listen to me. Wouldn't listen to me. But that pancreatic cancer is a whole. That's a whole nother beast. There, I wasn't even sure if the things that I wanted her to do would have worked out because pancreatic cancer. That's a whole nother level. Whole nother level. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That reminds me, not because I smoke weed, because I don't, but I do know that cannabis is very that Jesus is based on the cycle of the plant. I doubt that very seriously, since cannabis wasn't um, it doesn't grow over there. It wasn't a plant that originated over there at that, and they didn't have it at that time frame. But I ain't mean to knock that down. That damn, there's a show on, God dog it, I think it's on Max, and it's an Adult Swim show, and it's about this mushroom, and it's an Adult Swim type show, so you know it's gonna have Adult Swim type humor and stuff like that. But cannabis and mushrooms, that's something. That is something that we should be exploring more deeply as far as medical purposes. My condolences. Did something happen to somebody? Oh, you say so. I don't know as much about cannabis. I think I'm thinking about cocaine. I'm thinking about coke. So there's a cannabis that's in the Middle East. I'm thinking about cocaine. My bad. Oh, it's interesting. All the other patients look like skeletons because they wasn't eating or getting any kind of nutrients. I had sores in my mouth and all. Oof, give me the lidocaine. Oh, I'm probably gonna eat some stuff that I want to eat too. Oh, is that the name of it? So the show that I was talking about the mushroom is a good show, y'all. I'm not promoting nothing, but Common Side Effect is the name of the show. That shit got me waiting on every new episode on Monday. It's a good show. Oh. Thank you, boss lady. Yeah, it's been over a year since she passed, but it still hits you a little. Every now and then, it still hits me hard. You know what? That makes so much sense, Paul. Indica is from India. That would make sense naming wise. I've heard this before. Sativa is a medical property that starve cancer cells and alleviate neurological dysfunctions. If I were to, I would have to get it a different way. I'm not smoking it. I can't stand the way it smells. Hey, you're not the only, Roxanne. Um, who? Wayne. I guess Wayne is not here yet because he would have told you. Philly in the building. We got two Phillies, but thank you, boss lady. I appreciate that because I don't give the friend title to many people, and she got the friend title. That doesn't go to only. My wife tell you I only got like three friends in my life right now, so it's hard to get that friend title from me, and she certainly had it. Mm. Sorry to hear that, Randall. That your dad died from prostate cancer. That's why, like, so I had a gentleman. He was dealing with, well, he's still dealing with prostate cancer. He had half of it cut out. Which, damn it, I meant to communicate with him today. Shit, I knew there was something I forgot to do. Uh, damn, it might not be too late after we finish. I know that they tried to tell me. I was told that my prostate was a slightly enlarged back when I was 27. So my doctors had me start. I started doing like male Kegels, and then that's when I started going vegetarianism, and started eating a lot of dark leafies and dark fruits. And about 2 years later, they was like, "Nah, okay, your prostate's back to normal size." I mean, I know he had the cancer. I don't know if those things would work, but to this day, I still participate in those kinds of things. That's I'm not. I have no plans of having any of those things. Mm-mm-mm. I completely forgot because he's supposed to provide me some information that he has not provided. That joker. I completely forgot about that joker. Um, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna have to find him. I'm gonna have to get. I gotta remember. Just have to give myself a note. I see y'all. Y'all all in the y'all. Y'all love y'all cannabis, don't y'all? Yeah. I will go into if I'm ever said to have any kind of issue. I'm going to seek non-traditional medicines way before I go for regular medicines. And I try to tell people in my family this kind of thing. Like, I got folks in my family with high blood pressure, diabetes, and I like, look, I can help y'all fix this shit. You just got to listen to me. But they hard headed. They got white coat syndrome. Mm-mm. That is one thing I refuse to have is white coat syndrome. And if I had something serious, there's a young lady, I would contact her in a heartbeat. I'd be like, look, I know we didn't part on the best term. Well, we parted on good terms, but then some shit happened after that. I know some shit happened, but I need you to get over it. Because that woman, when I tell you she know, I couldn't stand taking a walk with her through the woods because oh, this plant right here, the stem of it will help you with this, and the leaves will help you with that. And then what you got to do with it is this, that, and that. And you take two more steps. Oh, you see this plant right here? This plant will do this, and this plant will do that. I was like, God damn, it took us 2 hours just to walk a quarter mile. No, 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 no. White coat. So the doctor's jacket. You know, they only gonna listen to what a doctor says. They don't want to hear anything from anybody who's homeopathic. They don't, you know, all that stuff. They ain't going to an apothecary. You know, that's, if anything, there was one point before I opened the cigar lounge, I was actually going to open up an apothecary. It's still on the fringes, but I was going to open an apothecary. I will not give you her number, but you can research the person and get in contact with her. Shit. Is that her name? Is that the last name? Shit, I need to look it up my damn self. I haven't had to write this in a long time. I don't want to give you the wrong name. Oh, I knew I was writing something wrong. This is the best person I know of with health. That is the best person when it comes to health. When it comes to homeopathic health, I would trust them with any issue that I ever have, ever. She is clinically trained as a nurse, especially in birthing babies. But her true knowledge, her deepest knowledge, is total health. Now, let me tell y'all something. She's a beautiful woman. Don't be, you dudes, don't be trying to get with her. I know how some of y'all work. I know how some of y'all work. Trauma, heal, Eric, Tim. But when it comes to fixing the body through natural healing, I put her name in there. The ats and all that shit, I don't know. And for the women, I watched this woman help women who could not get pregnant. I was like, wow. And Sean, yeah, Sean too. If it ain't legit, Tim, you know you ain't no damn boy. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. But if I ever go to the VA and they be like, well, Mr. Reed, you have this, that, or a third. Dwayne, you too. No. You have this, that, and the third. Okay, doc. Appreciate the diagnosis. If I need a surgery because my guts is hanging out, I'm gonna go to the damn doctor or surgeon. But if it's some internal stuff, hey, I'd be like, look here. This is the issue. Hook it up. I don't know all her other stuff like that, YouTubes and all that. Just type in what I typed in, and you'll be able to find her LinkedIn or something. LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. You'll be able to find her. Yeah, I have to give warnings to some of these jokers. Y'all not look. Sean, Trauma, Tim, Eric, Heal. I read enough of y'all comments to know where part of your brain is. See, you got a picture. Why would I have a picture? Why would I have a picture? I'm a married man. I wouldn't have a picture. Y'all are so easily, some of you jokers. See, that's why I know. That's why I named y'all. Y'all are so easily thrown off into the wrong damn area of the conversation. But yes, if you are dealing with anything and you don't want to utilize the white coats, traditional medicine, and you want to go homeopathic, that is my suggestion. That's my suggestion of the person. That's the best person I've ever met. Uh, I'm sure there are others, and I've heard other people talk stuff, but uh, I know this is gonna this, but that for me in my experience, that's the best person. Very holistic, yes. And I'm serious. So Sean, like you describe all the issues with your body, and she will put together the right herbs and all this kind of stuff. And you tell her your diet. She'll ask you about your diet, and you got to be honest about everything. And she'll, based on your diet, your issues, your age, your everything, get into the bag and mix up some shit. So, um, so like when my friend told me that she had pancreatic cancer, I was like, you go see her. And she just wouldn't go see her. And it pissed me off. See, can't trust trauma. Can't trust trauma. Let's see. Let's get back to some subject matter here. Is Jesus a plagiarized Asar story? No. Um, so the Asar story is that, of course, he was the son of Ra, married his sister Isis or Aset. They were king and queen. He was tricked by his brother Seth to get into this coffin. He was dismembered, pieces scattered all over the place. Uh, Aset found all the pieces with the help of Tahuti, except for his penis that was eaten by a crocodile. Then she hovered above the phallic symbol to get pregnant for the child horse, and then he died again after that resurrection and became the Lord of the underworld, to where you go live with him in the field of reeds. The only similarities is there's a resurrection, but the resurrection is a common story. He's the god over the underworld. That's a common motif as well. You got Hades and all these other gods of the underworlds as well. So it's not a copy of the Asar story. The Jesus story is an amalgamation of the different Messiah types that was running around in the early first century and cobbled together to make this legendized individual. You do have other more Mesopotamian and Zoroastrian parts that were added to the story, and miracles that were common miracles that was added to his story. But it's not a direct plagiarization of Asar. And of course, Asar was also made into a constellation in the sky, which a lot of them were, where you're talking about Achilles, Hercules. People like to draw pictures in the stars. Come back, trauma. Come back. I told you she deals a lot with women's health, and babies. Right. You got to understand these Mediterranean people And the whole Mediterranean people, all the people in the Mediterranean, Levant, European Mediterranean, Asia Minor, North Africa, they they swapped stories with each other. They were connected with each other for an extremely long time. So just like any grouping of people in any place, there's going to be a lot of similarities in their worships and in the stories that they tell, because they're going to be general knowledge of what they believe. You know, you take people surrounded by water, there's gonna be a ocean, something dealing with water and oceans and the god of the ocean. Desert people are gonna have desert gods, you know, and desert stories. So you're going to have these similarities. And see, the people in that area of Mesopotamia will say that about Enlil, but if you go to the Aboriginals, they're going to give you a different story about who's the god of the stars or control the stars, or who's the sun god, and so on and so forth. They have no connection with Mesopotamia, so they're not going. So Enlil is like, that's a false deity. That guy don't. I don't know who that god is. Um, I'm gonna say in the more original Mesopotamian story, wouldn't you think that Anu would be Jupiter? I can understand later Mesopotamian stories when we get more into the Assyrians and the Babylonians. Enlil would supplant Anu. No, Anu was Anu's the high sky deity. So he'd be the deity over the whole sky. So hold on that thought. Wait a minute. Let me retract that. Let me retract that. Enlil would be more equivalent to Jupiter or the sun. Jupiter or the sun. I would say Jupiter or the sun, depending upon the perspective that you're taking it from. Um, because the different time frame, they're going to have different thought processes. And that's really last night when I was saying how what Hellenization was, it's in that same format. Hellenization is one of the parts of Hellenization is comparing your God to my gods and then matching up which ones are similar. It's just like Constantine never said that he believed in Jesus at the council, at the Edict of Milan. What he said was that your Jesus is like Sol Invictus. So he was finding common ground with the bishops, the Christian bishops, of we worshiping the same. Jesus is just like Sol Invictus. We good to go. We talking about the same thing. Yeah, Asar is more with Orion because the constellation of Asar is what the Greeks called Orion. Then they was assholeish and they changed a set to be Canis Major, basically calling her a dog. There are some people that I just choose to ignore because they don't say anything makes any sense, especially when they're young. Yeah, I would put Anu more in that category. I'm with you. I'll put Anu more in that category, except for Moloch. Moloch is a child sacrifice. Many people think Moloch is a god, but Moloch actually isn't a god. Moloch is a child sacrifice. At least that's what the term was known as much as we know. Yeah, because Anu eventually gets pushed out, just like Kronos, and it's like the new gods, the children of Kronos, take over. So you can even see Enlil as a Zeus type. Oh, if I choose to, I can ignore the hell out of anything, especially when you're not saying anything that has any levels of relevance. Exactly, Randall. Some people actually have something to say, and some people, hmm, they just want to say something. Especially, young man gives that David Koresh energy. Next thing you know, he in a burning building, claiming that everybody's my wife. All the women are my wives. Just like David, Saul had to give up his wives and concubines to me because God ordained it. So all y'all women are my wives. Now come on, let's get some zug zug going. Most of y'all wouldn't even know what the term. Who knows what the term zug zug comes from? I'm just curious. Oh, yes, I gotta do that to my wife. There are classic movies that she has not seen. She has got to see that movie. I have to. Who knows where the term zug zug comes from to mean sex? I'm just curious. Hmm. I like having my wife watch these old movies that she didn't watch when she was younger because of our 3.5 year gap. Oh yeah, he sounds like a cult leader. Yeah, coming. Sean, you don't know where the term zug zug comes from? I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? I know y'all might be young, so let me go ahead and get past this. But if my wife is still watching, there's a movie called Caveman. We are going to watch this old movie with Ringo Starr called Caveman. Can you believe my wife didn't like Princess Bride? I was so hurt. That's not crazy. My information is not. I don't care about my digital footprint. It's not hard to find out where I live. It's not hard to find out um, my wife's name. My wife's name is probably the easiest thing. You can just go through my social media. You can find out that her name is Angelina. And in fact, if I said it a bunch of times, I've said I live in San Antonio. It's not hard to find. Not hard at all. You can use one of those little sites where you can look up a person and it'll tell you who I'm attached to as far as my family members and all that. You can know who my brother is, my sister, my aunts. That's not hard. That's not crazy. If you have anybody's full name, it's easy to find out who they are. I don't know what you're talking about. It's easy to Jose monkey somebody for the most part. Yes. When they were playing in the dinosaur. Man, that movie was not crappy. That movie was great, and you know it. And Sean, you've never seen it. You gotta watch it. Trauma, you never. Oh boy, y'all don't know what y'all missing. You know how Christians say people take things out of context? He's trying. You're trying to take my wife's comments out of context. You don't even know who she's talking about. He's just young and dumb and full of. I know everybody's in, for the most part, everybody's information is very public. San Antonio is a small city. It's, for me, in my mind, some people think it's a decent sized city, but it has a very small town feel to it. Right? It's a nice city, not that big. Now, as long as people encounter me in a positive format, we're good. Even if you disagree with the things that I say, I'm good. I have met with plenty of people who disagree with what I say, and we've had an enjoyable time together. Now, when you step outside the line, that's a whole other story. Because there are parts about me that you don't know, young man, and you will never know. And it's a very cruel way to find out. It says up there with Blazing Saddles. Yeah, it's about as dumb as Blazing Saddles, but it's good. No, I haven't been to a Spurs game yet. And Riverwalk and Alamo, I like those. Well, my name is Lorenzo Reed. I have no problems with that. Lorenzo Reed. You can research me. It's perfectly fine. It is not that great. It is horrible. I can order some food. You know what, Isaac? I know you love you. I know. Look, there's no way that San Antonio is the seventh largest city. New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas. Come on. I done named seven cities already I know are bigger than this city. So we go New York. Atlanta's bigger than this place. Miami's bigger. Chicago's bigger. Uh, LA is bigger. Detroit's bigger. What else is bigger? Houston is bigger. Dallas is bigger. Blazing Saddle was good. I am not the son of Ham. Ham has nothing to do with me. I haven't, the Tex Mex hasn't been that great. The food here hasn't been that great for us. We've only got about four restaurants that we actually like. Oh, wait a minute. I've never heard of your teachings as of last night. Will be the first I've seen you. The reason is because you asked me and I'm here. Okay, so you're not the person. So let me apologize for thinking that you were the person who made these disparaging comments about me about a month or so ago. So let me apologize for that. That wasn't you because I did say that last night. So that wasn't you. So my apologies. Uh, welcome. I don't. I asked you here. I know that some people say they want to debate me or whatever, and I tell them to come to the live. So maybe that's it. Wrong. Top 10 largest cities in America. Well, I'll be damned. Okay, San Antonio came up at seventh. There's no way this is some bullshit. It goes New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, Philadelphia, San Antonio, San Diego, Dallas, Austin, Jacksonville, San Jose, Fort Worth, Columbus, Charlotte. Charlotte is not bigger than Atlanta. Indianapolis. This is some bullshit. I don't trust this list. Maybe landmass wise, sure. Maybe landmass wise, I'll give you that. So maybe land mass, definitely not people. Okay, I went and read Deuteronomy 22nd really fast, and I'm more convinced now that the God of the Bible is the devil and not Lucifer. I would agree with you, except Lucifer is just the star, the planet Venus. Lucifer has nothing to do with any type of being. It's just the planet Venus. It's an astrotheology thing when they mention Lucifer in the Bible, especially in Isaiah. But yes, I'm going to say that they're just talking about landmass as far as these cities, but there ain't no way they're talking about people. Because people wise, Atlanta got way more people than San Antonio. Here's the thing: those three sons never, they are not the progenitors of everybody in the world. So, oh, that reminds me. Okay, young man, explain this then. Explain this. Explain this. I need you to explain this. So, if you go to Chattanooga and you go up to the top of Lookout Mountain, you can see Moccasins Bend. And I did a whole video about this um, last year, around this time last year. So in Moccasin Bend, they show archaeologically that they have had a history since 12,000, well, a history in that particular area since around 8,000, 12 to 8,000 BCE that they migrated to that area. And then from 8,000 BCE until the Trail of Tears. So 8,000 BCE until the Trail of Tears, they had a civilization that was uninterrupted. Therefore, no worldwide flood affected the native tribe that was there in Moccasin Bend. So they could not be part of Japheth, Ham, or Shem. So where did those people come from, young man? Where did they come from? Where did the natives who was living in Moccasin Bend until the Trail of Tears from at minimum 8,000 BCE, where the hell did they come from? If you asked for Jesus to arrive, didn't you? And so now what do you have to walk on the water? Jesus ain't never arrived and you ain't Jesus. You said you David. And that request was only made after you showed up. And I said arrive standing right next to me. I didn't say arrive on the chat. I was very specific. I was saying stand right here. Say nothing about no damn chat. Okay, Isaac, you can have your little stink city, even though I like San Antonio better than Atlanta to a certain degree. There's certain aspects that I like it better about here. Y'all ain't no black people in the city, but it's a false thing. We was driving to Corpus Christi, and we was at least damn 30 minutes outside of downtown, and we saw a sign that say "City, you're now leaving the city limits of San Antonio." So y'all in court, this is landmass wise is huge, so that's the only reason you got a higher population in the city. Don't get too caught up. Don't get too caught up in that. Come on, young man. You saying all this other bullshit. But I asked you very specifically. And see, that's what Bible believers do. You ask them a specific question, and then they want to start talking about the Spirit of God was with Elijah to raise the dead and still didn't believe. The Spirit of God was with Jesus to walk on water and raise the dead, but they still didn't believe. Ask Jesus to arrive, and he's here, and you still don't believe. Jesus ain't here. There's no one standing next to me. I said, Jesus, show up right next to me. There's no personage. I need some flesh. Show up right here. Now, I asked a very specific question about, because it was your son of Ham bullshit. And where did the people of Moccasin Bend come from? They have an uninterrupted history. They don't have a flood story of the world flooding. Where is your hit? Where did these people who was at Moccasin Bend, where'd they come from? See how they can't answer that question? James. But he is. He's standing next to you in spirit. Spirit Mary and Fred Easter. We listen to you. He in the room, I just gotta believe. Yeah, exactly. You just gotta open your heart and Jesus will appear. He will appear next to you in your mind's eye. You will feel his spirit in your emotions. Now, I need some tangibility, a full body, right, chump. I want to poke my hands in the hole like Thomas. Where did the people of Moccasin Bend come from? Shem, Japheth, Ham. Where did they come from? They were here older than the story. The story of the flood would have taken place around 4,400, 4,600 BCE. Wait a minute, I got that. No, that's wrong. Around 2,500 BCE. Because 4,000, well, that was been Adam and Eve. By around 2,500 BCE, the flood would have happened. Yet the people of Moccasin Bend during that time frame showed no interruption and actually were building structures at that time frame. Where the hell did they come from if this world was flooded at that time frame and they were still there? Answer the question. You see, this is what people, when people ask me why I don't debate Christians, this is why. This is why. Flat out, easy question. Easy question. I agree. Also, I thought about how did they cross the Atlantic. That's the only boat that would have made us know these are the indigenous people. They were already here for millions of. Then how do we? You know that doesn't fit into your narrative of the Bible, right? That doesn't fit into the narrative at all, right? Doesn't fit. And people, we know that people crossed the Bering Strait when the ocean level was 400 feet lower than it is. They crossed the Bering Strait. Uh, that was a land bridge. Now, other people had boats in the 2200s BCE, 2500 BCE. Other people had boats as well. The Indonesian people had boats. The West African people had boats. East African people had boats. There's Europeans had boats. Everybody had boats. The Kemetic people have boats. It's even been proven that the Kemetic boats that was built around that time frame could sail across the Atlantic, because dude did it. That goes against your story, but yet you want me to be this son of Ham. That's that Hebrew Israelite bullshit. I am not, nor have I ever been, an Israelite. No one in my lineage has ever been an Israelite. Oh my goodness. Oh my. I am not the son of Ham. Southwest Africans were around before, during, and after the flood. So how in the hell did they become sons of Ham? Oh, but I tell you, that Hebrew Israelite stuff is call a man a drink. Prove it. You got paperwork? You got paperwork of your lineage that you can track back? Because I'm not going to believe any Hebrew Israelite bullshit unless the individual can show their family line going back to Israel. There ain't no damn Israelite in my DNA. Not one piece. It's some Irish and some Scottish, but it's a whole bunch of Igbo, Yoruba, and Mali in my system. Right. And how you gonna claim to be Jewish and you believe in Jesus? They reject him as the Messiah because he doesn't fulfill the requirements of being the Jewish Messiah. He didn't overthrow the Roman government. He didn't establish a Jewish kingdom. Things didn't happen. He wasn't even the prophesied one. And you know, wait, Cristobal, Cristobal. I like how you did that, Cristobal or Cristobal. I got you. They go by skin color alone. You can't go by skin color. Your DNA been so mixed up. We can't go by that bullshit. I hope I would. You know, there's a part of me that would love for your God to be an inkling of reality and is listening, because I would want that motherfucker to show up. And yes, he's a motherfucker. Right? I would want him to show up because he got some answering to do. I'm a Ricky Ricardo his ass. Lucy, Yahweh, you got some explaining to do. I would love that. Love it. And yes, even though your title is Disciple of Christ, I agree with you 100% here. To believe the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, you have to dumb yourself down. You have to reject. You even have to reject the Bible to do it. Not even mentioning archaeology. You just gotta reject the Bible. Just that in itself. You gotta reject the Old Testament. Tim, stupid. See, Tim, this is why you ask me questions of why I be throwing your name in certain categories. That's why right there. That right there. Oh, I'm being disrespectful to their God. I'm gonna go to hell. You disrespectful to Allah. You going to Muslim hell. You disrespectful to Brahmin. So you gonna reincarnate in a lower caste. You disrespectful to Odin. So you not going to Valhalla. Let me help you out. Fuck Jesus. Fuck Yahweh. Fuck Enlil. Fuck El. Fuck Ocean. Fuck them all. I don't give a damn about none of them. Until they show up, they can all kiss it. They can all kiss it. And you know what's interesting? When you're deconstructing from Christianity, when you know you can say something like that and not have any emotional dread or emotional issues, that's one of the time frames where you know you are truly deconstructed from the emotional attachments of that religion, because you don't have any fear of these make-believe gods, right? If you have an issue, if in your gut you say fuck Jesus, fuck Yeshua, you know, Yahweh can kiss my black ass, but you feel that thing inside that makes you feel like, oh, should I said that? Or something doesn't go right in your life and you're like, oh, maybe it's because I said, fuck Mary, which according to them, nobody ever fucked her except God. Yahweh did without her permission. Uh, until you can say that with no issues here or here or here, you still attached to this religion. Fuck Abraham and his wife pimping ass. you know, that's one of the ways you have released all that lower vibrational bullshit that you've attached to this religion and this God. Yes, Jeremy, I'm with Jeremy. Jesus can. Well, I don't want a man sucking my thing. I don't want now. So let me no. Mary can suck. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing, nothing, not one thing, not one issue. It doesn't bother me at all. And there was a time, I would say, how am I? Even though I had walked away from the church in my mid 30s, when I truly just walked away. When I was in my early 40s, I still had that little. It's already been done. I've already had blood drawn. It's already been done. And it's been done more than one time. And then my children had the same thing done. Well, one of my children had the same thing done. Guess what? They got pretty much the same shit that I got. The only difference is that they got some stuff that they from their mother's lineage, but that's it. So, and guess what? None of that shit is Israelite. None of that shit is Hebrew. So even they parentage, they mom ain't got none of that bullshit in them. Now they did cheat her on her Native American part, because her grandfather on the mama side, that motherfucker was like half. No, is he half or is he like half or some shit like that? He close. Oh, that shit don't make no sense. You don't have to be an Israelite. You just have to be a son of Ham. I understand what you're saying, because you think about Israelites going through Shem and so on and so forth, but ain't nobody in Africa. None of them motherfuckers come from Ham, especially not no sub-Saharan. And how can you come from somebody who never existed? That part right there. You can't come from somebody who never existed. I'll give you my grandfather's name. Okay. Why do people do stuff like that? I'll give you my grandfather's name. Why wouldn't you just say my grandfather's name is such and such? Look it up. Why you got to go through a second comment? Like, is directness a problem within the believers? Like, believers have a problem with directness. Just say the shit. Um, I don't know much about that Oxford anecdote. Annotated NRVS. I can't speak on it. Don't know it. Don't worry. It'll get there. It'll get there. Don't worry about it. It'll get there. Because there's more people leaving these dumbass religions every goddamn on day. And there will be those who will feel this vibration and come this way. So don't worry about it. It'll get there. And when it does, I'll let you know. Probably won't, but I'll let you know. Oh, let me know. Hey, what'd you say? It's been suggested, young man, would you like to come on here and prove anything or say anything? Some fuckery, because this cigar is almost gone. Yeah, people are walking away from these religions. Oh, the New Revised Standard. Actually, the RSV is what I use most of the time, or actually, I'm starting to use the updated version of the RSV. So that is the version that I use because that is the most accurate version from the information that we have thus far, according to what was closely written. So, oh, you heard my wife. But yes, that's the actual version that I use now. The KVJ is probably one of the worst versions to use, and anything that's been translated from the KVJ, like the NIV or the American Standard and all that shit. So I use the RSV and the updated RSV. Yeah, there are so many churches that are empty. I actually feel bad for this one church because when they finally bought this land and built this huge structure, you go in there, it's built for 10,000 people, and they barely get 500 in there. And I remember when they were just a little small church on the hill. I feel bad a little bit, only for the finances of it. The rest of it, I don't feel bad at all. Oh, 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 my job is to bring out the evil inside of people and let them speak from their heart, as you can see. There is nothing that I said was evil. Not one thing I said was evil. Yeah, it's funny how people say, "Oh, you're speaking truth." That's evil because it goes against my beliefs. And if you take my sarcasm as evil or my satire as evil, then that's your problem, not mine. Exactly, exactly, Boondocks. If you don't follow my cult, you're evil. There's a fine line. It's blurred like a mug, ain't it? It's a blurry line. It's like me without contacts. Blurry like a champ. It's a blurred line. No, I didn't see that. I'm gonna have to look that up. A preacher got punched. That's messed up. And Rock saying you need to repent. You need to call for the goodness of God. You know, it's a funny thing you said that, Tim, because you know the backbone of any religious organization is women. If you don't have a lot of women in your organization, it ain't gonna work. If it's just a bunch of dudes, it's not gonna work. You gotta have the women. Uh, Actually, I spoke on that on the video on one of the videos that I put out yesterday about Isaiah 7 and how the title of the video is something like Jesus failed the prophet his Jesus Jesus failed in his prophecy or some shit like that. And yes, when you look at the RSV, it's young woman. It does not say virgin at all. Yes, yes, young man. Since you want to change my heart, go ahead and send that 10,000. Send that 10,000. Right, right. Well, they're gonna tax me if you send it. I'm gonna have to. They're gonna take part of it. So send me that 10,000. Go and send it. What's the thing? What are you on? You on YouTube? Go ahead and super chat that 10,000, young man. Super chat that 10,000 and let it change the heart of friends. Let it change my heart. Let's exactly. Um, since you know where I live, you can just send it to me. Or since you're supposed to be David, just magically make it appear in the bank account. You know, I shouldn't have to give you my bank account, my Venmo or nothing like that. I don't have Venmo. What's that thing I use? But you can't send 10,000 at a time because I tried that. Well, I didn't try that much. Zelle, you can't Zelle it. Go ahead and super chat me them 10 G's, young man. Go ahead. It will be put to great use. Change my whole thing. Yes, it's right here. You can even do it through here. I'll pay the taxes. I'm so good at taxes that I won't pay. I won't wind up having to pay any taxes anyway. So I can report it. It's not a problem. Oh, I've never heard that Christians was burning RSVs. Because if that's one of the most precious lying ass prophecies that they have, and if it's taken away that. Yeah, boss lady. I know. Even if I wanted to start a group that's based on what I do, how I see the universe and everything, I know that it will not go that far without women. It's just a fact. But I do think men are more hardlined. I find women to be more open, which is probably why, even though it's not demonstrated here, the overwhelming majority of my audience is women, especially on I think YouTube definitely more is way more women than men. It's a little bit more balanced on Facebook. Yeah, I need everybody to send me a stat. Yeah, send me a stat. I need everybody to send me a stat. Send me a stat. Y'all think I'm playing? Go on, send me a stat. I need 10 people. I need 10 people to send me a stack so your consciousness will elevate to a higher plane of understanding. Because if you send me that stack, then what I'm going to give to you will increase your life. It will increase the work, the things that are going on around you. You will see the universe move in ways that you have never seen before. It will be coming to you in heaps and droves. Your cup will be pouring over when you send those stacks. And we need 10. We need 10 stacks to be sent in order for the universe to fulfill this promise that it has for you. 10 stacks is what is needed to show your devotion to the way of the universe, the flow, the frequency of the universe. Send them 10 stacks right there, each one of you. Now, when you send your stack, send it in $500 increments. $500 increments, not more than that, because the government gets involved. $500 increments. Don't you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel the universe blowing an energy wave towards you? Come on. I know you feel it. Feel it. Feel it. Oh, man. It's Randall's fault that I did that. I just want to let y'all know. It's Randall's fault that I did that. So don't blame me. It's Randall's fault. Oh man, y'all got problems. That's what I want y'all to know. All y'all got problems, but I can solve them within 10 stacks. We'll be able to really grow this organization so that more people are freed from the indoctrination of this false religion. We'll be able to get the word of alchemy and hermeticism out to the people to allow them to have that peace that so many of you already have. Don't you want to share that peace? Don't you want others to have that peace, to have that thing that you have inside yourself, that you feel confident in knowing that there is no hell, that it is your consciousness that develops these perceptions, and to be free from that and know that by raising their consciousness, they won't ever have to, whatever parts of them come back to this existence, but or any other existence at any other time, sitting in total oblivion for thousands of years, and then repeating some level of matter level existence. Send that money. The universe is calling. If you feel the universe calling you to do that, send that money. Young man, send that 10 stacks, young man. Send it. Oh, sorry. You know y'all get me to say some stupid, some crazy stuff sometimes. What? Well, my bro, I would love for you to teach me as I watch, and it's something you're teaching me. Then I will bless you tremendously. It has been done. I am the listener, not the speaker. That was very well said. But you can only teach the ears that are open. You can only teach to people who are willing to pour out the cup. Because, and this, I'm being serious on this part. Because one of the hardest things that I had to go through was to realize that I already had predetermined landing spots for whatever I was learning. So as I was going from 9 years old to around 27, and then that last part from 27 to about 36. The difficulty was that from 9 to 27, I had a predetermined landing spot. I wanted everything to come to the conclusion of what I had been taught, what I had grown up in. But it wasn't really, and although, a little bit was pouring out here and a little bit was being poured out there, it wasn't until I truly just took the cup, emptied the cup, that I was actually able to truly understand how these religions came about, who participated, what was the politics, what was the culture around it. Is there any supportive information be outside of this? Because any book that says that it is validated by itself leads you to ruin. So I can only teach you if you take away your predetermined landing spot. If you are already convinced of what you currently believe, I can't teach you anything. And I sit myself in a learning position at all times. Even the things that I swear by, decree by, I am still open to any of those things being incorrect. Now, in order to prove that, there has to be data that surpasses the data that I already have. That is why earlier I said that there are questions that I don't even know to ask. And I don't know if in this existence I'll ever even to figure out what those questions are. But for whatever question I do figure out, I am open to whatever the answer is. Whatever that answer is. If your Jesus literally came down right here, tangible, and said, okay, look, dude, let me teach you something. Tangible Jesus just appeared out of nowhere. Not somebody knocking on my door. I want to give you the word of God, or running into somebody, or somebody, no, on a chat. No, show up. Demonstrate that you are this person. I'm open to it. Open. And of course, I'm going to have some very good questions that they're going to have to answer. And if they cannot answer those questions, something sketchy about that person. So, can't necessarily say that you are actually ready for that. Now, I don't know. You could be. But right now, based on what you said, I don't see it. So the hardest part was standing alone at first, but with time, it becomes the best part. Thinking for yourself is freedom. Yeah. And I am very thankful for internet, because I was standing alone for a long ass time by myself. I would imagine that if I had the internet when I was 9, if I had been born and the internet was already what it is today, when I was 9, I more than likely would have walked away from this religion before I graduated high school. What shall we do with 300,000 Ukrainian widows? I didn't know there were 300,000 Ukrainian widows. Polygamy. Those families need to be taken care of. That structure need to be there. You don't need to have all these widows out there. Polygamy. Trying to say it wasn't hard for him. It didn't make any sense. Very inquisitive. So once I started asking questions, it was hard for me. Growing up where I grew up and around the people I grew up, it was a little difficult. But thankfully, I didn't have a bunch of people mad at me about life and about those things. He said Kurt Cobain. Why is that name familiar? I know that name. See, they laughed at me because I was different. I laughed at them because they are the same. That's good. Oh, hell no. It is I've been doing this for 2 hours and 55 minutes. Y'all have cut into my writing time. I was supposed to be writing right now. See how y'all think y'all slick. Y'all think y'all slick. Oh, I guess the lotion don't wear off. Y'all think y'all slick. That is one thing, Isaac. One thing I can't stand about San Antonio is so dry here. You can put lotion on. I put lotion on 3 times a day on my hands. This dry ass city just be drying you up. You need to walk around with a bottle of lotion. Oh, he's the singer of Nirvana. I like Nirvana. Didn't know. I'm one of those people where I might like something and not know who the singer, actor is. I just like what they do. Shit, Nirvana got me through that. Is one of the groups that got me through Desert Storm. Whew. Well, I'm gonna take a shower in a few minutes. So, yeah. All right. 2 hours and 56 minutes. Y'all know it's time to go. Cigar is gone, but see, that was a 56, 58 ring gauge cigar. So that's how y'all got me. Sheila. So I did post 2 videos today. One of them is a little bit political. It ain't a little bit political. It's a whole lot of political. One of them is political. So don't get mad at me if your political ideas differ. But one of them is political. But I did produce 2 videos today. One is about the horrific, the horrors of God's command to Moses, based on Deuteronomy 20, from a video that I saw earlier today. So that video was put out about 3 hours ago now. So please check that video out. I did another one that's kind of political. So it's the whole thing about the repealing of segregation. And my thoughts probably are not the most award-winning thoughts concerning that. Just know that I am an independent when it comes to politics. I don't side with any one side, but don't get mad at me. Just take it with a grain of salt. And it's very theoretical in my perspective. So go watch those 2 videos. They're both on Facebook and YouTube. Published them today, about 3 hours ago. So I will see you guys on Monday. Our lives go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The rest of the week, of course, I will produce videos all week. And I look forward to our next encounter. So y'all have a great, great night. And always remember that we need $10,000. I couldn't help it. I laugh at my own jokes. Oh, so the shirt can be acquired if you look in the description. So the videos I posted today on YouTube and Facebook, if you look in the title and under the title where it says more, if you look in that description, you'll see the link where you can get the shirts and the mugs for this and the others, and the Lioness Liar shirt and the good Journey, Good Vibration. You'll see the links for those shirts. So if you desire to support the channel but get something in exchange for that support, I appreciate it. You know, my knowledge should be enough for you to support the channel, especially with those 10 stacks. But I look forward to it. But y'all have a great night, and always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.